The current board, upon assuming office in November 2015, inherited a broadcast authority with no effective managerial monitoring, enforcing, or regulatory procedures as stipulated in the Broadcast Act. The board held numerous meetings to address these deficiencies and is working assiduously through its 4 committees with a view to creating a broadcast environment where there is a level playing field, sound broadcasting policies, effective competition, and a basis for fostering good relations with broadcasters, the authority, and the public. The philosophy of the new board lies in regulating all broadcasting in the public interest and within the context of freedom of expression and freedom of the press. Most importantly, the board wishes to protect the morals of our young generation and is restricting broadcasting of certain television ratings in keeping with good practices and international standards. The board has therefore made decisions in a number of areas with a view of improving the broadcast landscape, ranging from restructuring of broadcast fees and licensing requirement, modifying conditions for application with respect to new and existing licenses, introducing new guidelines, identifying equipment to facilitate better monitoring of broadcast programs in Guyana. The board feels that in order to guarantee acceptable standards, all licensees must deliver a good signal with enough power and quality for the convenience of viewers. On the question of broadcast fees, with regard to television, we are recommending an amnesty be offered for outstanding amounts due. A new commercial zoning system is recommended, namely primary, secondary, and tertiary. A primary zone encompasses Georgetown and environment, and the fee would be 1.2 million per annum. The secondary zone, and let me just explain, there are more than one secondary zones, all right? So the names you see mentioned here does not represent one large secondary zone. So secondary zones will be Berbice, Bartica, and other parts of Essequibo, and a person holding a license there will pay $600,000 per annum. Tertiary zone will be Linden, Letem, Maburuma, $300,000, and we are also advocating the introduction of community television stations in Guyana, and we are recommending they pay $150,000 per annum. For radio licenses, we recommend the following. Primary zone, 2.5 million. Secondary zone, 1.25. Tertiary, $625,000 per annum. Community radio stations, $312,500. The fee for each zone, as you will notice, is 50% less in each preceding zone. Also, the policy of 3.5% of gross income, whichever is greater, will stand. All operators who desire to extend their signals to more than one zones will need the approval of the authority and be allowed to extend their signal to these zones and must pay the licensing fee for each zone. For example, a person who is broadcasting in Georgetown, let's say television, pays $1.2 million per year. And if they also want to extend their signal, let's say to Berbice, they then pay an addition of $600,000. Recognizing the varying levels of earning potential in different areas, and in addition, the board has placed considerable emphasis on community broadcasting, particularly for marginalized and hinterland areas. These decisions emerged after careful consideration of frequency allocations in existence in the industry for over 15 years. Members of the licensing committee also examined the marketplace, including annual accounts of state-owned broadcasting entity, being NCN, all of which clearly indicate that income for radio exceeds that of television, and the operational expenses faced by radio operators is less. As a result, the fee for television, we are reducing it in keeping with the ability of broadcasters to pay. At this moment, the authority is owed $121 million. $121 million in outstanding fees, and will be moving against defaulters soon. The deliberations are still in process with respect to fees for cable systems. The board is in dialogue with the NFMU on issues relating to the allocation of frequencies. The board is of the opinion that an unfair advantage exists with respect to spectrum use, creating virtual monopolies for certain favored individuals. A complete review is recommended. The board has also recommended the introduction of a system of television ratings based on the U.S. Federal Communication Commission TV rating system, aimed primarily at protecting our children and young people. Therefore, only programs rated TVG, TVPG, and TVPG, will be allowed to be aired during the day. TV PG-13 rated materials will only be allowed after 8 p.m. and TV PG-17 after 10 p.m. TV MA and R and X will not be allowed for over-the-air broadcasting in Guyana. With regard to on-air commercials, broadcasters will be cautioned not to air more than 15 minutes of advertising per hour, as such practices will incur sanctions. In addition, the authority will closely monitor the practice of interrupting canned programs in an attempt to place local advertisement, as this often affects the smooth continuity of these programs, much to the annoyance of viewers. The practice of stringing together one commercial after another to cut into program content will also be discouraged. In an effort to encourage local content and the development of quality local programming, stations will be required to reach a target of 20% local programming within the first year of broadcast. Taking into account newscasts, public service announcements, local music, local drama, and documentaries. In keeping with its mandate to build a higher quality broadcast environment, the board is currently preparing a set of guidelines for all broadcasters. Finally, the board is cognizant that the issue regarding the license issued by the former President Jagdeo shortly before demitting office and prior to coming into force of the Broadcast Act has attracted the greatest interest relative to our functions to date. The board, at all of its statutory meetings to date, has discussed this issue and decided that the said license appear to have been issued contrary to and in violation of good administrative practices, and the said license appeared to have been arbitrarily issued to persons and entities with close ties to decision makers without regard to prior existing applicants. Further, the said decision would have preempted the application of the Broadcast Act, which was already assented to, but was awaiting a date to come into operation, and this was entirely within the authority of the said former president, who was also holding the portfolio as subject minister as provided for by Section 1 of the said Act. The issues relating to the said license pose difficult questions which ought only to be determined after deliberate consideration of the legal opinions available, which includes but is not limited to litigation. The board has been in consultation with senior legal practitioners on this issue, and it is our intention, in keeping with our mandate to regulate, supervise, and develop a national broadcasting system, to make a decision soonest. Wish to thank you